Hello beautiful people and welcome to the channel. Reverend Debbie here, hope you're all doing well. Today's video I am going to talk about why feminism is still important. And this is probably going to be a little bit of a longer video than normal, so please bear with me. I also issue a trigger warning here as well, as I'm probably going to be discussing some difficult subjects. So many of you know that I'm a feminist, and I believe that women all over the world do not have equal rights with men. An average pay for a woman is 76% lower than that of a man's in the same job. Now there are factors that can be argued around this, such as women can't do the same jobs as men. Fair enough. Generally a woman is not as strong as a man and is not able to be a builder, for example. But some women are, and they should be paid the same as a man. And this sort of brings me to the point of no wonder so many of us prefer to live alone. At my age, I'm 54, and you know, why would I want to be with a man who treats me as less than? But before I get into the rest of the video, if you enjoy it, please click the like button, please subscribe to the channel. There are quite a few viewers who return every day who are not subscribed, and if you aren't, I would really love to ask you to please subscribe. It will really help me to get these messages out into the world to people who really need to hear them. So it is a concerning worldview to me that women in some parts of the world are treated like dirt. That they're being forced into arranged marriages or to go through FGM. I'm going to put the meaning of that down in the description box below, because I think that YouTube will probably take my video and put it down at the bottom of the list. There's certain things that you can and can't say on YouTube. And although I believe that it's wrong, because you know, we should all be able to say the real things, the truth of what's happening. But unfortunately, yeah, there's probably a man involved there somewhere. These kinds of behaviours, these kinds of things that happen to women, forced marriages, arranged marriages, and sex trafficking. There are, you know, a certain gentleman, although he's not really gentle, a man is being held in a foreign country because of the fact that he was found to have some sort of sex trafficking ring going on. I'm going to get back onto that subject a little bit later. But as women, we should all be standing together to free our sisters around the world. We don't live in the Dark Ages anymore. We don't have to be subservient to men. We don't have to bow down and scrape and say, you know, we will do what our husbands tell us to, because we know better now. We know that that behaviour is wrong. The generation before my generation, and the silent generation, so the baby boomers and the silent generation, the women who stayed in those relationships with their husbands were subservient to them, and they stayed there because they believed they had nothing else that they could do. They stayed there out of fear. They stayed there because that's what their mothers did and their mothers before them. And this has been ingrained in women for so long. You get married, you have children, and you do what your husband tells you to do. No, no longer. We are not the Stepford wives anymore. Women want autonomy of their body, of their mind, and to be able to do the same things that a man does and receive the same pay that a man does. But we have a big fight here on our hands, because misogyny and the patriarchy coexist together, and this is in all of our governments around the world. The vast majority of people in power are men, and they put the laws in place. Look at what's happened recently in the United States. Many states in the States have made abortion illegal. Whatever your thought is on that, not my concern, but as far, you know, you can have your thoughts, that's fine. But my belief is that if a woman does not want to have that child for whatever reason, she should be entitled to have that abortion because it is her body. It's that simple. So being put into a forced marriage or being forced to have FGM is just horrendous. And I know that a lot of my sisters out there who are in different faiths to what I believe, and some of whom are forced to wear a hijab or a full veil, perhaps there are many of them that don't want to have that don't want to do that. Perhaps there are many of them who see how we women in the Western world, what we call the Western world, have a little bit more freedom than them. Is it time for them to change? Maybe. But it's time for us, the women who can, to make that difference. Now, recently, there was a black female MP here in the UK who was berated and belittled by a certain person, and I'm going to try and find it and put a link in the description box below so you can have a look and watch that section. But this lady, Diane Abbott, was the first black female member of parliament in this country, and she was basically closed down in our parliament and not able to ask her question at the time. And I'm not going to go into all the detail because it's very political, but I will try and put a link, as I say, into the comments below. She had wanted to ask a question in Parliament about what had been said about her, about the horrible, disgusting words that were repeated about her. And I'm not going to repeat them here because I don't think I should. But he hasn't apologised for what he said. It was racist and misogynist. The whole debate in the Parliamentary House of Commons, the chamber, that week was about what this person had said about her. She was there. She was trying to ask a question and she was ignored. I just think that if there was a female speaker in the House of Commons, that maybe she would have been accepted to ask her question. She was silenced. She was shut down. She was ignored. She was made to be less than. Her body, her life was worth less than the white male parliamentarians. Women are not yet equal with men, and until we are, we as women, we as feminists need to carry on the fight, because it seems somehow that we're going backwards in certain places, and it feels somehow that relationships between men and women are becoming more and more distant in the beliefs. Yes, there are men out there who respect women, who will treat women with the respect that they deserve, and we thank all of those men. And we also thank all of those men who will stand up for women when we are talked about in a derogatory way by a group of men in a pub, for example. Now, something that's happening recently that I've seen online is that a lot of men seem to think that if they're nice to a woman, if they approach a woman in a pub or a bar and are nice to them, that the woman should then have sex with them. Where does this come from? Influencers such as Andrew Tate, who I'm going to talk about in a minute. But these men who then go up to women and say, oh, you know, I really love your dress. Thank you. Back to my friends, having a drink. Why are you ignoring me? Well, I'm with my friends. You know, you can see that I'm with my friends. Oh, you're a this, you're a that, you're a next thing, and swearing at you and calling you names and things that you definitely are not. Because they are afraid of women. Now, there is a video that I've got on my in my video listing, in my watch lists, that is all about misogyny, and the doctor in that, I'll put a link to it in description box below as well. The doctor in that states that all men are misogynists, that all men hate women. And when I look at people such as Andrew Tate, who many men, many boys and young men are following, I can see why. This is a man who is under house arrest, I think, in whatever country he's in at the moment, because he had suspected trafficking, sex trafficking ring. And in one of his videos, I saw this video and I was like, what the just happened? He was saying that if your woman doesn't behave, just grab her by the throat and slap her around the face. And she'll behave. I know that I certainly wouldn't put up with that, would you? That's not the way that we should be treating women, that we should be treating the mothers of our children. These women are the mothers of your children. You have a mother. Would you accept her being treated like that? Here in the UK, and possibly in the States as well, I don't know, because I don't know enough about the law in the States, but most of my viewers are from the UK and the States and then from Canada, are often targeted by the male police officers. Here in the UK at the moment, the Metropolitan Police in London is under investigation. There are numerous accounts of men who have committed sexual abuses while they're policemen. And we are told as women to trust the police. No, not a chance would I trust the police. We look at the Sarah Everard case back in the COVID, I think it was in 2020. Yeah, I think it was in 2020. Sarah Everard, this was just after lockdown had ended, and we still had curfews in place, but this lady, Sarah Everard, and again, I'll link that story into the description box below so you can go and watch it on your own time. But she was just walking home from a friend's house. It was night time, it was dark. She wasn't too far from home either. And an off-duty policeman pulled up beside her and offered to give her a lift home. Because he was a policeman. Now, we're not sure what happened here. It could well be that he was pretending to arrest her because she wasn't supposed to be out. There was a curfew, blah-de-blah-de-blah. But she got into his car. And he drove out of London down south. And he then proceeded to sexually assault her and then unalive her. And his nickname in the police force was the R-ist. The other police officers called him that. They knew what he was. They knew what he was like. How are we possibly supposed to feel safe with male policemen when they're doing things like that? We can't. We can't feel safe. So call out patriarchy, call out misogyny. I mean, we've got a man trying to get into power in the biggest nation in the world, the richest nation in the world, who grabs women by their is. And he thinks that's okay. And some women think that's okay. But the majority of us don't. Now, if you have been a victim of being touched or felt inappropriately, you will know exactly what I'm talking about here. It's happened to me. And I want you to go, any men that are watching this, I would love you to go to your female friends and family members and ask them, have they ever been, sexually misogynized or, patronized for them being female? And I can tell you now that the vast majority of them will say, yeah, I experienced this, I experienced that. And this goes down to things like catcalling, a guy shouting out of a car at a woman, oh, nice legs. There was something on the red carpet here in the UK yesterday, I can't remember the actress's name, but again, I'll pop it into the description box below so you can go and read that story. And she was on the red carpet, she was being photographed, and one photographer shouted at her, "Show us your leg." And she said, "You show me your leg." We are objectified. This is what happens to women. We are objectified. Would any female photographer who was watching people walking up the red carpet to whatever function they were going to turn around to a man and say, "Get your pecs out"? Probably not. But this kind of behaviour, we don't have to put up with it. Ladies, women, girls, trans women, whomever you are, however you identify in your female perspective, you do not have to put up with this, and we shouldn't have to put up with this. So I'm asking those men who are the not all men to help us. When you see or hear your friends at the pub talking about a woman in derogatory terms because she sat at the bar on her own in a short skirt, and you think that's fair game, it's not. It really isn't fair game. And you denigrate her. "Oh, look at that skirt. I could give her a good one," and so on and so on. Call it out with your friends. Respect is needed. And men need to start respecting women as equals, because otherwise there are going to be no children. Because more and more women of my age group who have been in an abusive relationship, who have gone on to live by themselves, have decided they'd rather live by themselves than be with somebody. Who can blame them? So please call it out when you see it. Ladies, please stand up against this. Please sign the petitions. Please be aware of what goes on and try your hardest to wake people up to this reoccurring nightmare that we thought we'd won. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Hope to see you next time. Blessed be.